Today is Saturday, May the 15th, and I haven't done a video in a month, and I explained why, in that video a month ago, but I thought that it would be fun just to run through the stocks that I've always looked at and see if technical indicators were valid and helped you stay in the game in a very tough time. Now, you remember when we left, we had all this chopping here. Well, look what happened this week. We couldn't break above the previous high for the McClellan oscillator. So we had a very rapid drop. This point right here, where we had 2 days of turnaround, coincided with this on the S&P. Not only support on the 50 EMA, but look what the Chiku span was doing at exactly the same time. It was bouncing off of this candle. And that's something that we look at on a regular basis. What is the Chiku span doing? How is it interacting 26 periods back with moving averages, with candles, with the cloud, just like current day price action does. So let's follow up on some other things. The Dow Jones, this is a weekly chart. You can see that it's stretching to 150% of the Fibonacci that we drew for the coronavirus, right? This is the coronavirus drop, and this is the coronavirus recovery, and we're hitting 150%. But we're also using the 50-day moving average on this is a weekly candles. Remember, this is a 50-day and weekly candles. That's okay. But you can see that every week we've been using the 50 as a point of support. Going back to October, we were using the 200. The Nasdaq, the key thing with the Nasdaq is, this is a weekly as well, is that it finished way off of its bottom. It started the week up here, dropped substantially, and now is coming back up close to the 50. You might even say that you got 50 support there. Close enough. But look at we looked at the S&P already. Look at the volatility index. The volatility index is not showing any kind of fear. This is our complacency zone. This means that the trajectory in the S&P should still be over the long range to go higher. Apple. Some keen things about Apple. Look at the cloud support all week long. This was Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, when the S&P had hit the 50 and the Chiku span got support on the candle. The same day, Apple got support on the bottom of the cloud, in between the 50 and the 200, but not having the conviction to move down to the 200, still fighting a good fight. Remember, this day is the same day that the market was oversold, and we saw that on our McClellan oscillator right here. Abbott. Abbott was one that I bought into a few months ago, selling some stocks that I was just a little bit too heavy in, US Bank, and buying some Abbott. Very nice. Technical indicators don't say much. I mean, the 50 is clearly important. The cloud here is clearly important, but the trajectory for Abbott is up. The SMIs, however, are both showing overbought conditions. And the last time we saw this overbought conditions, there was a pullback right in here briefly, and then it resumed, well, it had a channel, and then it resumed its move upwards. Still a good stock and a very good dividend stock. BLDR, we stopped looking at for a while before I stopped the videos, but look at this. We drew this channel a long time ago where we had a peak here, we had a peak here. Didn't quite make the peak there, but we're still staying within the channel. And if we extended this channel up, we'd see that it hit the top of the channel here for the third time and then pulled back. Now the 50 is holding it up and the cloud is holding it up. So if this is a stock that you like, Builder's First Source, and that's one that should definitely benefit from any infrastructure or housing jumps, construction overall, that's a good stock to buy. Now this 50 support is important, and you've got the support of the cloud right down here. And look at the Chiku span. The Chiku span did dip below this candle, but now it's come up to, it's right in here. It's right within this candle is where it finished. So there's a good, oh, no, sorry, let's open this up. Look where the Chiku span actually is. It's right here. It moved through this candle, and at some point in the day, it did come when it hit the 50, right here, we'll put in the green line. When price hit the 50 on Friday, the Chiku span also hit the top of this candle. Chiku span important, right? Chiku span's very important. What else do we want to talk about? Let's look at Home Depot. Home Depot's having a bit of a pullback. We're still showing overbought here in the long-term stochastic, and the short, faster moving stochastic is starting to bottom out and should move up. But overall, this can stay overbought for a long time. Look at how long this stayed overbought, both the short-term, the slow-moving stochastic, the blue one, and the fast-moving stochastic, the red one. Both of them stayed in the overbought while the stock continued to churn up. Home Depot is going to turn around as well. IBM is another one that I'd bought into. Again, lightening up some stocks in the banking sector. And you can see that we drew this ABCD quite a while ago. This was a 61% Gartley. Pulled down to here, hit the D, and it just has not really been able to break away from that D. I have some covered calls there on my IBMs. I really am expecting weakness, and I'm expecting a collision with the cloud before it moves up. But again, just like we saw in Abbott, the longer term stochastic is showing overbought, and the slower term stochastic is reaching the bottom and should see a turnaround. MP was one that a friend of mine was buying into. I never liked the chart from the first time I took a look at it, and you can see the importance now of the cloud and the moving averages. The 50 and the cloud intersected here, and that proved to be pretty tough resistance. The Chiku span got some support here. Chiku span got resistance here. The 50 was resistance here, and now the 200 is support. If this is really a stock that you are in love with and you think that it's a great idea, this would be the time to buy, and you would put your stop right here at 23.21. NEO has been a choppy stock, to say the least, and has been disappointing. But what we see here, we did our 100% Fibonacci back here at one time, and it did pull back to the 68.1, just above the 50, but the Fibonacci proved to be more important point of support than the 50. Then we bounced back up and we broke the 100 and we moved up to here, but we didn't hold it. So we'll still keep these Fibonacci's. We won't move this point up to there, because if we do, it just doesn't look as good. It doesn't fit as well. This is still an important support point right here, 68.1. And look at what we've got down here. On Thursday, we had 50% support and a bounce. So that's still a good Fibonacci. NEO is still a good stock. I just have some short calls out in August, 60s, which are just picking up premium, and I'm watching NEO cycle up and down, but I still just love this stock. And technically, I still think it's something I want to hold on to. Down below the 200 does give me pause. Now, if this 50 comes down and crosses the 200, for technical traders, that is the death cross, and that would be time to tighten up on the short calls. Not get out of the stock, because I don't do that. I keep the same handful of stocks. I modify them from time to time, but I keep them for a long time, and I sell calls for premium. And I've made a lot of premium this year. I mean, a lot. Okay, $67,000 of premium is what I've made this year so far by holding on to the same stocks. And I've seen my overall portfolio hit great numbers and come down and look scary, go back to the great numbers, and now they're on their way down again looking scary. But I'm still pulling in the premium, and I still have conviction in my stocks. I'm sorry, that's the way iTrade around selling calls around a basket of stocks. QuantumScape was one that we took a look at. All I can say here is that it's got support at a minor Fibonacci. Really haven't looked at it carefully. Square is another big disappointing one. And Square is one where I sell calls heavily. And a lot of my revenue this year has been on short Square calls. But look at where we've got support now. We dipped below the 200, but we came above the 200 on Friday. And with Dorset, or whatever his name is, that owns Square, saying that they got burned on Bitcoin, their stock was responding to Bitcoin. As Bitcoin moved up, Square would move up, and so on. We should overlay the Bitcoin chart with Square. That would be interesting to do. Gosh, we're into 10 minutes. But he said he's not buying any more Bitcoin, and the stock did rally a little bit higher. So that's a good sign. AT&T, still love this stock. When the dividend was issued back in April, or paid in April, or was it early May, I bought another 100 shares. Look at where it got rejection from. The top of the weekly cloud, but the Chiku span is now in the cloud, signaling that this stock is going to continue to move up. Remember, times get tough. People look for strong dividend stocks, and AT&T is one of the best. U.S. Bank, I know some of you bought into U.S. Bank. Look at this support back here on the 200. That signaled this big rally here. And at the same time, the SMIs were both in the oversold position. So that was a clear signal to get into U.S. Bank. And look at that movement. It's been beautiful. And it is also a very good dividend stock. Some of the other stocks that we looked at, Sono has had a fairly steep pullback. If you like the stock, this is not the time to buy it because of rejection at the daily cloud and because the 200 is down here. And it's quite possible that it could come down and hit the 200. So that would be an awesome time to buy the stock if you like the stock, if it's something that you think has some future potential. What are some of the others that we looked at? There's Dollar General. Support on the 50 simple moving average, still has the 200 below, but look, have we got any crosses here? We had a bullish cross here with a 50 crossing the 200, a solid blue and a solid red, so those are both EMAs. And then when that happened, the stock did move up, so there's a bullish cross right there. Let's look at one more, Alibaba. Not a good stock to buy. All sorts of headlines coming out about Alibaba in China that really aren't great. But look at this. From a Fibonacci point of view now, it struggled at the 38, got support at the 50, now rejection at the 50 and the cloud, rejection here at the cloud, rejection here at the cloud, and then it's tumbled below the 50. The only place this stock is going is down to 68.1. Although both of these are showing oversold, when the blue or the 40-day stochastic started moving up, it ran into resistance and moved down. Very bullish sign. How often does that happen? Let's look at the blue here. Down and up. Down, up, down, and then up. Stayed up for a long time as this massive bullish run was coming here. Then we headed down, stayed down for a long time as this massive reversal took place. But when have we ever seen it go up and then down? We really haven't, have we? Not in this time span, so that's not a good sign. That's it. So it was nice to catch up on those stocks, to have a look at the same basket that we were looking at before. The key takeaway here is that the cloud is working. The Ichimoku is definitely working as an indicator, and the 50 and 200 moving averages are working as well. But the signal here is that regardless of Republican obstruction to spending, Biden is finding a way to spend money. And when he spends money, if there's inflation, and that seems to be what people are worried about. But I just read an article showing that inflation is simply returning back to the straight line projection that it would have been at had there not been COVID. So we had a pullback in inflation. Now we've had a resumption in inflation. And where is it? It's at the same place it would have been without COVID. When the market saw that, I believe some of the pressure came off on the inflation trade. And I've got my eye forward to the fall and the end of the year. Certainly lots more obstruction, but the Republicans are not winning the war with Biden. His popularity is not decreasing. They are going to have to provide at least a $1 billion infrastructure package, and Biden is finding ways to pay for that. He's going to eliminate some of the estate taxes on people that are, have $100 million estates. He is going to tax the rich if he can get Manchin on board. The outlook, I'm telling you, is optimistic. Thanks a lot for tuning back in again. Anybody who's been here 16 minutes, thank you, and give me a shout out. Thanks.